advocates from the Utah Office for Victims of Crime. MAC is one of the victims advocates at UOVC. Their daily tasks involve assisting victims over the phone, providing them updates regarding their claims for reparations, providing resources and informing them about the criminal justice process, and providing any empathy, effective listening, and support when in crisis. They also request and receive police reports and other important documents for the program, as well as working with reparations officers to complete their claim kits and advocate for any of those approvals as well. Their background is community work, college education and communication, as well as participation in life coaching and self-improvement workshops and programs, which taught them the importance of listening to and understanding people's various situations and struggles, all while helping them become the best versions of themselves through advocacy and support. They absolutely love their job and position as they allows them to help their community firsthand and be involved in a great process towards healing and self-sufficiency, and plan on continuing this work for years to come. Thank you. We also have Jaime Echeverria as well from UOVC. They're here to join us and provide us a little bit more insight as well too. Does need help sharing the screen or anything?
Hi, I think I will need to share my screen for my portion of it, but I think I can do that myself. I'm not sure, but I will let you know if I need it. Thank you so much, Beatrice, for the introduction. And hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm not sure if you want to say anything, Jaime, before I get started.
No, yeah, thank you for having me. I'm a reparations officer here at UBC, and I'm excited to be here and go through the scenario. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it.
Perfect. Thank you. So again, my name is Mac. I am the lead bilingual victim advocate here at the Utah Office for Victims of Crime. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about an update here at the office that we have. We're very, very excited to be introducing it. It is the online application. So some of you may know how we have operated for all these years is just through paper applications. We have the English or Spanish versions of those paper applications that victims have submitted to our office, and that's how we've been kind of processing them until recently. We have launched on our website the online version. So victims, claimants, and involved parties are now able to go on and create their own Utah ID login and submit applications online, check the status of their applications, contact us online as well. So we're very, very excited for that to be an option now. So I will just go over that process with you guys. And if you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to let me know, and we will kind of just go from there. Let me see if I'm able to share my screen here. Let's see. Are you guys able to see that? Are we on the main page of the UOVC?
Yes, it looks great.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
And I put the link in the chat back. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Vicki. Okay, so this is the main page for UOVC. As you can see, we have all the information, the contact, all of that for our office. But what we will be going over is how to file a claim online. So you will just right up here on the top center will be File a Claim tab. There you will go straight down to the online application. You are, of course, still able to download the English or Spanish PDFs of our applications, and feel free to help victims submit that through us. You can email us, you can fax them to us, they can bring it in person, and of course they can visit our office to submit those paper applications. But let's go over the online application and what that looks like. So first and foremost, that will take you to this page, which does have, we're trying to make it as simple as possible for everybody to understand it and navigate through it. It is very new, and with everything new comes a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of questions. So we ourselves are trying to make it better and improve on our processes every day. So feel free to reach out if you have any suggestions, or if you're helping victims or applicants go through that process and realize that there's things that we can improve on. We're always open to that feedback. But for now, this is what we have. the first thing that this will have you do is create a login. So with that, it does have to be a Utah ID login. Make sure that if you are assisting, if you're an advocate or anyone assisting a victim of a crime apply for reparations, it does have to be made under their name and their email address. So even if it is an advocate submitting their application on their behalf, just make sure that the email that you use goes straight to them and that they have access to that. So I already am logged in, but it's if I wasn't, it would just have you create login, password, and then verify all of that. And then you'd be in like this. So once you are logged in, you'll be able to apply online. I don't have any previous applications there. If I did, they would show up all the different applications with the different crimes, and you can check the status on all of those. But for now, this is the first one that I'll create under my login. This one, it does have a note here that pops up that lets you know that if you do not complete the application all the way and submit it properly, it will still save, but only for 90 days. And then after the 90 days, the system will automatically erase and delete all of that content. So if you are assisting a victim or if you're applying on your own behalf, just make sure that it is submitted all the way. And I'll show you guys what that looks like at the end of this presentation. But yeah, that's just what this little pop-up says. So you'll acknowledge that, and then you can get started on creating the claim. The first thing you'll have to do is enter in the victim name, date of birth, all of their contact information. So if you're applying on your own behalf, then you'll just put in your own information. If, let's say, you're helping a parent apply on behalf of their child that was a victim, then there does have to be a differentiation between the victim and then the claimant. So yeah, that can be a little confusing, but let's go through it here. We'll just kind of try to do this quick because I know we have limited time and I'm sharing it with Jaime. So let's just go with John Doe as the victim. If they do have a preferred name, if it is something that they like to be called, a nickname, or a different name than what they were, assigned at birth, feel free to list it on here. That is how our office will refer to them in all of our correspondence, and if we ever contact them as well. Please indicate if it is a victim that is deceased or disabled in any way. And then, yeah, you'll just start by putting in all of their information. In this case, I will be applying on my own behalf, and my name is John Doe today. So I'll put my date of birth, and then I will differentiate here. I'm not sure if on the, in what you're seeing, do you see the drop-down menu here, or, yeah, you do? Okay, perfect, thank you. So as you can see, there's several options here. There is an applicant. If this is, let's say, a parent and they're applying on someone else's behalf, then you enter all their application or their information, and then the victim's information will be the victim. So since I am both the victim and the applicant in this scenario, I'll just put applicant/victim. If it is the applicant, but they themselves also feel like they could benefit from therapy benefits or any other benefits, they would be secondary victims if they're not, directly a victim of the crime. Or if they're simply a secondary victim, but they're not an applicant, let's say it's a third person that you are adding, then that would be the secondary victim there. But yes, for now, I'll put applicant/victim. We will select the gender. It is entirely okay to put no response or not available if you're applying on someone else's behalf and you're not entirely sure, or simply other. We'll take any answer there. The marital status, the race, and then the relation to the victim. This is where, let's say I was a parent, John would be the father applying on their son's behalf or whatnot. Here they would put the relation to the victim would be parent, and then when they put in the child's information, it would be self, since the victim would be themselves. So for now, since I am both the applicant and the victim, it'll be self. I'll put my address here. And then I'll put Salt Lake City, Utah. And then we'll just phone number, and then an email. And you do have the option to select to receive email correspondence only. So if you or the victim that you're applying on does not have a safe address or would not like to receive actual physical correspondence from the state of Utah, they can select to receive email correspondence, and we'll be sure to just email them that way. This tab here, it does ask for the insurance information. We do ask all of our applicants about their insurance coverage just because we are considered a secondary payer to them. So if they do have the support from health insurance, they do have to use them first, if possible, for any crime-related medical or mental health expenses. And then we can step in if approved and cover anything that they don't. So there's an option for Medicaid, workers' compensation, or no insurance. If they do have something, insurance that is not Medicaid, they can list the specific provider and the policy number here. And then we do also ask if a vehicle was involved in the crime. If so, then we do ask them to provide their insurance, their vehicular insurance information. So for now, let's say I have Medicaid and that vehicle was not involved. And we'll just finalize by adding that victim/applicant. It does have you select which address you would like. We have the address that we entered and then the USPS address. So we'll just use the one I entered and then we'll finalize by adding that. You'll get a pop-up saying that it was successfully added. You'll have all of that information over here. And then if you need to add, let's say if that was only the victim's information, you need to add yours as the applicant, vice versa, or you want to add anybody else. If it's, a parent applying for a child victim, but then their siblings are also secondary victims, they're also able to add as many people as they need to, and then just kind of move from there. So in this exercise, it's just going to be me as the applicant victim, so I don't need to add anybody else. We'll just go ahead and click next here. The next tab is the civil suit. So here it does ask if the person or family has hired an attorney for a civil suit. In this case, we will indicate no. If yes, then we would provide the attorney's name, their phone number. UOVC will contact the attorney for that civil suit if the answer is yes. So yeah, we'll just get that information later on. But if it's no, then we'll just move on to the next tab, which is the crime information. So here it is very, very important. This will help us speed things up a ton because if we already have a correct case number and law enforcement agency, as soon as this is all processed by our office, we're then able to just reach out directly to the records department for that police department and request the records that we need, avoiding further delays. If for any reason they don't know their case number or that's missing, it will just cause a little bit of a delay for us advocates to be able to reach out to them or the police department and try to get that information from them. So best practice is just to always include that case number there. So here we'll just select it as a Salt Lake Police Department case. And then we'll just add that case number there. If they have the crime date, that'll help a lot as well. But the most important information will always be that case number. So let's say they don't know the exact crime date. They're more than welcome to leave that blank. If they don't have the exact address where it happened, they can also leave that blank. And then the crime description, just you have 250 characters to describe briefly what the crime is about. So I'm just going to say that it was an assault. And then if there was any weapons used, there's gun, knife, or other. If it was, let's say, an assault and they want to list like hands or any other weapons that are not a gun or a knife, they're welcome to add that here. And then we can go on to the next tab here, which will ask for the suspect information. If they have that, a lot of times they don't, and that's totally fine. They can leave this blank. If they do, then they would add the name and their date of birth. And they'll also mark and indicate if the suspect has been charged in the district court or the justice court. In this case, let's say I do not know the suspect at all, and I'm not sure if they've been charged at all. That's totally fine to leave blank as well. We can go on to the next one. Here is all the benefits that the person can apply for. So you'll notice the little eyes here. This is just a little explanation for each benefit if it's not quite as clear what that would be. So for dental care, I'll just kind of briefly go over them. Dental care, that's only applicable and approvable if there is any damage to the teeth or the mouth that's indicated on the actual police report. So when reparation officers, and Jaime will speak about that a little bit later, what they'll look for is what's written on the police report. They can only approve benefits that are relevant to that information. So if on the police report, the victim clearly states that there was an assault and that they lost a tooth, or there was any like punches to the mouth or anything like that, then if the claim is approved, they can approve that specific benefit and cover the dental cost of those repairs. Door lock or replacement, we have that information here. It says it is a maximum of $1,500, which can help pay for the change of locks, equipment, or installation cost of a security system. So we can, go and buy them a full system with cameras, lights, sensors, all of that to make their home safer. But it cannot cover monitoring fees or a security system. So we can pay for the actual equipment, but not the, fees to keep it running every month. Funeral expenses, we are now able to pay up to $14,000. Up until last year, I believe, or recently, we were only able to pay for half of that. So we're very excited to extend those benefits and be able to assist with up to $14,000 now. And that covers anything from, the actual funeral expenses, paying for, we've paid for even like traditionally, if there is like a gathering at the funeral where the family has to provide food culturally, then we can also pay for those expenses as well. So anything that has to do with a funeral, we can cover up to that amount.
Mac,
go ahead.
sorry, real quick. I just had a quick question. For the funeral expenses, is that specifically for a victim, or does that also include like, adjacent family members? Do you know?
Yeah, adjacent family members. So whomever really is responsible for paying for those funeral expenses, as long as they can provide invoices and receipts and all of that, we can certainly look into approving those payments and reimbursing them if they've already paid. Does that answer the question?
It does. Thank you. And I'm sorry for interrupting.
Oh, that's totally fine. Thank you for your question. And of course, if you ever have any specific questions about benefits or claims or anything like that, we're always happy to take calls. The reparation officers are a lot more knowledgeable in specifics about payments and reimbursements and all of that. So I'm sure Jaime will also have a lot of insight about benefits. But thank you for that question. The replacement services, this isn't one that we approve very often. I don't think. I actually am not entirely sure what that all encompasses. Again, Jaime would probably have a better answer for that. But it's like childcare, when a dependent is, or the primary provider of the family is deceased or affected and no longer able to provide, that's when we can look into covering those costs. And again, everything was situational. So if there is a specific benefit that the family or claimant isn't sure or is needing assistance with, they can always contact and speak to their reparation officer, and they'll work that out with them. Loss of earnings. So this can cover up to 12 weeks or 480 hours of essentially reimbursing for lost wages. So we will send them a form, and them as in the family or the approved claimant or victim. They'll just complete a form letting us know what days they've missed at work, what hours, what their rate is, and then we'll get all that verified with their employer, and then essentially send them a check to reimburse them for that missed time. Loss of support, I believe it is kind of the same as replacement services. Again, Jaime, if that is incorrect, please correct me here. But yes, loss of support dependent, if they're no longer in the picture, we can look into helping the family with that. Medical care, pretty straightforward. Any medical bills related to the crime, that's what we can cover with that. Medical devices, that is a maximum of $5,000, and that's, let's say there is a need for a wheelchair or eyeglasses replacement or any medically necessary device that was damaged, lost, broken, or is needed as a result of the crime. That's when we can help cover those. Mental health, we can cover up to 25 therapy sessions for primary victims and 15 sessions for secondary or direct family members that have been affected by the crime and would also like to receive some therapy. We can help with up to 15 for them. And there is a possibility for extensions. So if there's, let's say the victim is approaching their 25th session and the provider believes that they would benefit from having an extended amount of therapy or maybe 10, 15, or even up to 25 more sessions, they can request that, and then that's up to the reparation officer to approve or deny, but it is possible to get additional sessions for them. And finally, the relocation expenses, that would help with up to $2,000, and that can cover things like a security deposit, moving expenses, rental of a U-Haul or a storage unit, or application fees, stuff like that. So I believe with this increase, we used to only be able to do 1,000. So with this increase, I believe we are able to cover partial rent as well. And additionally to this, we also, the advocates at the Advocacy Center here, we now have an emergency assistance program that does help with rent and groceries specifically. So we can cover 1, 2, or up to 3, I believe, months of rent, as well as 1 month of groceries for the family. And then the budget for that grocery would depend on the family size. So if you do have any referrals for us or anyone that's struggling and really needing assistance with rent to remain housed, or just in general would like some groceries or whatnot, just refer them to our advocates and we're happy to take an intake. It is a lot quicker than our CDR process. This whole thing does take around 6 to 8 weeks at this time due to our high caseload, but that emergency assistance program will only take maybe a week for them to be approved. We're very, very flexible. We're able to approve most, if not all, of our applicants as long as it is the need for rent or groceries is related to a crime. And then we can essentially just either buy the groceries, online order from their nearest Walmart, and then they would just go and pick up those groceries. Or if it's rent, we'll just need a full lease agreement and a W-9 from the landlord, and then we can send the landlord a check directly for the amount that's listed on the lease. So that's just a side note. That's something that we have as a resource here. And yeah, those are all the benefits here. So we'll just select a few. Let's say I am only seeking mental health therapy, relocation, and to get help paying my medical bills. We can select those, and then this will just let us know who referred the victim or claimant to our office. Let's say it was our great West Valley Police Department victim advocate, Natalie. Thank you for the referral. Yeah, and then we'll click next. And that is one of our last tabs here. This is just to review everything that we just submitted here. Before we submit, just to review all of the information. So we have the name, date of birth, it's all correct. All the information here, the cell phone number, the email address. I did mark to receive email only, so they will not be, or we will not be mailing any correspondence. I do have health insurance, I have Medicaid, a vehicle was not involved. So yeah, just review all of this information here. And once we are all good on that, then you can just click next. And then this is the last part of it. The assignment of recovery here essentially is just saying that UOVC can seek reimbursement through the restitution process. So this is just letting the applicant know that whatever we pay, if we are able to approve their claim and make payments, later on we're able to seek some sort of reimbursement back through the courts from the offender. So that's just letting them know that. This second section here is, oh, and the same applies for like lawsuits or any other if they receive some sort of funding after they've been approved and we've already paid, then that's what we can seek reimbursement on that. This is also authorizing us to seek records that are pertaining to the victim or their family. So we can request the police reports, we can look into the court case and all of that. So this is just informing them that we will be doing all of that. And by signing, they will authorize us to do so. And then the declaration of truthfulness is just letting us know that everything that they've submitted is legitimate, that it is all the truth, that they are seeking benefits under their own name and for themselves and whatnot. And if all of that is all good with them, then they would just sign. For right now, we don't request them to electronically actually physically sign. We are able to accept just a typed signature only for online applications though. Make sure if you are still helping the victims complete paper applications, it does have to be physically signed. Even if it is filled out on a computer, we cannot accept just typed signatures unless it's submitted through this online process. And yeah, we'll just submit that. And once you get to this page and you're able to download a PDF of the application, that's how you know it's been successfully submitted and reported to our program. Otherwise, if you don't get that far, it'll just be in a pending status. And again, we'll only keep it for 90 days before it has to be automatically erased. And this is exactly what our office will receive. As far as the online applications go, it'll be automatically transformed into this kind of form. And that's what we'll see. And we will process, assign to a reparation officer, and then ultimately they'll continue that work and get a decision to them, and then either mail or email the decision letter to the victim and work with them moving forward on that. So that is how our online application works for now. Do you guys have any questions for us about all of this? No? Okay. I
You've
think...
had questions in the chat that Jaime's been answering those, so.
Oh, yeah, I've just been going little by little on the questions on the chat. We did have a couple of good ones.
Thank you.
So yeah, just stuff about documentation with the victims, like I put in there, we don't look at migration status or anything like that. And yeah, good job, thank you.
Thank you so much. And yes, you're absolutely right. That's the reason why we updated our applications a couple of years ago to no longer request the social security numbers or anything like that. And on that note as well, it's very, very important if you are submitting or helping someone submit a paper application, just make sure at the bottom right corner of like outside the margin of those, there is a revised date year. Make sure it is a 2019 or newer application. Otherwise, if it's 2011, 2009 or older, we're actually no longer able to accept those paper applications and will later on seek a more updated one and a new signature and all that from the victim. So yeah, that's another thing to look out for. But yes, thank you guys so much for listening to me yap about all of this. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, myself, Rose, or Jessica, the advocates, and I will pass on the time over to Jaime. Thank you so much.
I do have a quick question.
Go ahead.
So with these new changes, I'm imagining maybe there is a more influx on applications. I don't know, but what is the time frame? Like typically we tell them like 30 to 60 days for it to be processed. Is that still the same or did that change?
Yeah, so ideally we would like to have an answer within the 60 days. Lately though, I do notice that we're taking around 6 to 8 weeks altogether from the day that we received and processed the application into our system to the victim or claimant receiving a decision letter. So it is a bit delayed. So I would honestly tell them 6 to 8 weeks. But yes, to process them itself, it only takes a couple of weeks, but then later on, for us to receive the records and for a decision to be made, it does take around 6 to 8 altogether.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Also very glad to see you again.
Thank you, Selena. Likewise. Okay. Take it away, Jaime. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So I am looking at the time here. It looks like we do have a couple of minutes before break. Vicky, what do you think? What should we do here?
Yeah, go ahead and you can cover your piece, and we have a little wiggle room, so we'll take our break closer to 11. So.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
so
want to take turn or 15 minutes? That's okay.
Now I'm guessing that we're going to be using the scenario that was in the documents provided.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that everybody has read this. We're looking at an aggravated domestic violence assault scenario.
Yes.
And if you guys can open the document and follow along with me, I just kind of want to go through it. It's only about a page long. Looking for, how can Office of Victims of Crime help? So I'm going to go through the incident. This is something that, we encounter every day. This is very typical. And so just to kind of give you a lowdown of the situation, we are looking at this report. Sometimes it might take a week. It might take 3 weeks to get a police report. That's one of the reasons why we take the time we take to do applications and approve them. So once we get this, we're going to be looking at the details. So it looks like this family, there was a domestic violence incident. One of the children ran to the neighbor. The neighbor called it in, and cops came to investigate. It looks like, there was a struggle. There was a fight. There was, some food thrown, children hiding in the closet, potential strangulation signs and evidence. And ultimately, the suspect was arrested and sent to jail for domestic violence. So what do we do now? Where are we at? The mom was put in contact with VAs, and the VAs pointed her to our office, and the application has come in. So what can we help with? Basically, as a reparations officer, I'm looking for the impacts of the crime to the victim physically, and mentally, and in terms of security and environment. Those are like the three things that our insurance really cares about: is your body, your mind, and where you are. So if they're, in a domestic violence situation, maybe the suspect is going to be in jail for a few days, maybe less sometimes. We want to get them safe and secure as best we can. So the number one thing in this scenario is, the assault part. Grabbing somebody by the neck is technically aggravated, and it means that, it's almost like using a weapon. And so we take this very seriously. And according to our statutes now, we can actually help them even if they don't cooperate. In this specific situation where domestic violence is taking place in the home and there is strangulation and there is, this type of violence, we sometimes see the victims not really helping with the investigation. And historically, a long time ago, I'm talking 4 years ago, that would be a disqualifier. If you were not helping LE, law enforcement, get that conviction, then we would, by statute, be banned from paying for anything. But that has been changed. And now we can help these situations. And so, yeah, even if it says right there that, the victim wasn't forthcoming with details or information, that is not a red flag for us. We understand these situations are delicate, so we're going to help as much we can in the face of that. So just with that new update, does anybody have questions specifically about helping when the victim isn't helping? Okay, I'm glad. That's usually a tricky topic, and we want to move forward with that. So first things first, she's going to have to go get a something at the hospital. She's probably going to have injuries. They're going to take pictures. They're going to take evidence, and we're going to cover all of that. And we can either cover it directly if they keep those bills and just never pay them, or we can reimburse them if they decide to pay those bills. We can pay them back. So all that's covered. The domestic violence happened in front of the children. There were children available and watching this. So their mental health could be affected. So they're also going to get benefits through the office as victims of domestic violence in the sense of witnessing it. And so that is actually a Chapter 5 offense to commit DV in the presence of a child. It's almost like assaulting them, basically. So they're going to get mental health benefits fully, as well as the mom. Lastly, so we've talked about the body, we've talked about the mind. Lastly, we want to make sure that she's in a secure place. They are cohabitants. They live in the same place. In order for this to be resolved, our office takes the stance of, maybe separate is going to be better. So in this situation, this mom was referred to, a domestic violence shelter, SVS, all these things. Ultimately, what she's going to want to do is move into a different housing situation, either by lease on her own or with a family member or something else. And that lease is going to cost some money, and that's what we can pay for. We can reimburse a security deposit. We can reimburse a truck rental. We can reimburse a moving company. We can reimburse purchasing of boxes. Anything that is moving related to get her to safety with the children is going to be acceptable and payable. Yeah, I think that is the end of it. Oh, there's one more thing. Obviously, if she does decide to go to court and help the investigation, there's other benefits to be had too. And it's not because it's contingent on it. It's just that if they don't help, they don't go to court, and we can't pay them for those days of court. For example, if she has a job and she has to go to present to court to go face her accused, face the suspect in court and say what happened, then yeah, we're going to compensate her for those hours that she maybe missed work. We're going to compensate her for the miles that she had to drive to go to court. We're going to try to make it as easy as possible for the justice system to work. So that's an extra benefit that everybody is entitled to. But maybe in this case specifically, she's not going to go to court, but that is still available if they decide to do that. So that's another good benefit that we like to provide. Now, back to what Max said about the loss of support and replacement services. These are services that, like you said, they get paid out very rarely because they're a very rare situation. Loss of support and replacement services has to do with when the head of the household, the primary breadwinner of the home, is the victim of the crime. And that person is no longer with us. So they're either deceased or paralyzed completely because of the crime. And then the family can get compensation because, whatever that was happening, paying for school, daycare, food, all this stuff. We could make a case to say that our office can pay for those things up to our limit. Now, for example, in this DV case, we can say that the separation of the family has created a loss of support for the mother, right? The mother maybe doesn't make as much money or anything. The only problem is that it doesn't apply to the situation, because the reason that she got loss of support is because the provider is the suspect. So in this case, it's going to be really hard to do any of that. So what we really use this for is when, a father, a mother, a head of household is, killed or murdered in some way, and that is an approvable crime. And then we can approve for the support because it had nothing to do with the suspect. That's kind of where we're at. Question in the chat. Once a claim is approved, the reparation officer will become the primary point of contact with our office, especially discuss benefits and payments. Yes, that's right. Thank you. What about incarceration? Allison. Yeah, what about incarceration? Who's incarcerated? Any more detail? I don't know about for the primary caregiver. If the primary caregiver is incarcerated because of the crime, I'd have to read that police report. I'd have to figure out how they're innocently incarcerated. So DV situation, maybe the husband hurts the wife, goes to jail. We need another claimant for the victim. Yeah, so we go based off of, like Max said, the applicant and the victim. If the victim is a minor, we need a good applicant. If the victim is an adult, then we can do them all by themselves. But what if it's a murder and suicide where the father killed the mother and then himself, leaving 3 children under the care of an adult sibling? Yeah, I've had one of those before, where the whole family was affected. But in my case, the children were also killed, so there wasn't any loss of support in my case. But I believe that if there would have been kids alive or survivors, then yeah, that would have been a good scenario to use that if necessary. Probably the foster parent or the foster mom or the relative could apply for those loss of support benefits. But yeah, we would have to look into the details, into the weeds of like who shot who or what happened exactly. If there was any, if anything doesn't jive or doesn't make sense, we would point that out and figure out what's going on. But yeah, that would be what we're talking about, is if the parent doesn't exist anymore and they weren't the suspect. That's basically the two things. If the parent is not with us and the parent wasn't the suspect, we can usually do that. It's just such a rare thing that happens. It's usually the suspect is the person, so that's way more common. The adult sibling would need to apply. Yeah, the adult sibling would be the applicant or the claimant, as it will. Good. Yeah, I think that's it. We got the medical bills we're going to pay for. We're going to pay for that relocation. We're going to pay for those loss of wages and therapy for the whole family. Yeah, and hopefully we can go to court and we'll get paid back with restitution. Sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. that's just the way it goes. All right, I think that's it. All I got.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate you kind of going through the scenario of what could be eligible, what potential things could be eligible for our scenario. So thank you so much, Jaime.
Exactly.
So we appreciate both Mac and Jaime for being here and discussing and talking about crime victims reparations. So excited that we have the online application now and have that more accessible for survivors. So please reach out to our office if you do have any questions in regards to the online application or a claim, or if you're wondering on the status or things like that. You can always reach out to our office as well. And